All right. Well, yeah, I'm excited to talk to you guys about this stuff. So I started my first therapy session in 2000. And I remember this first person I worked with, I was amazed by his story. He was serving a mission for his church, and he was doing his training, and within 3 days he was sent home. And he was sent home because he was burning out everybody around him by repenting. He had stolen a grape when he was 3 years old, and it was eating at him. And when he would share with his branch president what had happened to part of his repentance process, he would get relief. The problem is that shortly after, moments after, he might have remembered a detail that, man, if he had given that to the branch president, would he have said what he said? Would it give him, would he still feel like he was okay? So he needed to go and clarify that with him. And then he's like, but also, what about this? Maybe I didn't also share this, and he didn't fully understand what I meant about this. So maybe he really wouldn't have given me the advice or made me feel like I was going to be okay. So I needed to go clarify that. And he did it 100+ times in 3 days. And I was interested. I'm like, wow, I thought OCD was about hand washing and checking and counting. What is this other thing here? And I started researching and did my best to try to help them. I remember Pamela, or my supervisor, I won't say her name, but my supervisor, she she told me, "Oh, I'll tell you exactly what to do. Read Brain Lock, Stop Obsessing. Brain Lock by Jeffrey Schwartz, Stop Obsessing by Edna Foa, um, and and also." She said, there's some really cool techniques, like you can use a rubber band and you flick their wrist anytime the thought comes in their head, and that way it will make that bad thought stop. You can have them write in their journal. You can explore their past. You can use cognitive behavioral instruction. You can use the David Burns 10 forms of thinking. You can do all these things, and it will help. And what was interesting as I worked with this kid, I remember coming home and telling my wife, wow, we had the most amazing conversation. I don't think I've had such a profound conversation in my life. And then the next session, the following week, do you want to know what we talked about? The exact same thing. We had the exact same profound conversation, and he was doing it to me as well. And so I could say that this person I never really helped. What's interesting is this person, actually, I have an email document. He said I could share his story with him because he actually came to my program about 12 years later. And he was sitting in front of me, and he said, I'm like, I know this person. How do I know him? And I said, have you ever been to therapy before? And he said, no, I haven't. And we start getting going, and I'm like, wait a second. I've seen you. You were my client. And I said, why did you say you didn't do therapy? And his response was, well, I might as well not have. Right? I didn't really count this as therapy. A lot had changed from that first session to where I was. So I also, reeling backwards, so I married this lady, and incredible person. She had she was top grades in high school. She was cum laude at her university, and what was interesting is, she didn't think she was very smart. She just memorizes easily. She literally has much of a photographic memory. I should have known there was something there, because once we got married, I kind of jokingly say, man, I didn't know if I could stay married with her because she wouldn't let me hang up the phone. And I didn't know what was going on. I mean, I was missing therapy sessions, and if I tried to get off, she would start to cry, and um, and I found out about a month into marriage that every time that I wanted to get off the phone with her, her fear, worry would spike, and she would have these thoughts that said that if you don't end this conversation the right way, then it might be the very last time you ever get to talk to him. And she didn't want to risk that. I'm like, I was like, oh. So I used all those techniques from the past, and that didn't help her. And then my son, 5 years later, he was born, and he was 18 months old 5 years later, and his OCD started to go really awry. And I'm like, I gotta figure this out. And I was led to an organization called the International OCD Foundation, and 3 weeks later, I went to a training. I came back, and it was so amazing. And what I learned is that, and this may sound offensive to some of you, but 99% of therapists don't use this treatment that has been proven by science to be the most effective treatment on this planet. But more than 99% don't use it, right? And I'm like, wow, what is this about? Well, that's going to be part two. I'm going to what this treatment is. But what I'm just sharing is like this my little cliffhanger here. That man, there's this awesome, amazing treatment that can save your clients. But what I learned through all of this is that OCD was not what I thought it was. OCD, it was something very different. I think that society does a fantastic job giving the perception that the person's weak because of it, that they need to stop it, that they just need to resolve their issue with their family member. Man, if I can, maybe this came because of trauma. That is not true. So OCD, I don't care how terrible their past is, has no bearing on whether they have OCD or not. That's what research says, but that's not what most people say. Most people say, oh, this is, man, explore their past, let's process it. What I learned is that OCD is a malfunction in the brain. Do you guys know that? It's a malfunction. It's no different than if they were a type 1 diabetic. I'm going to share you a picture. Jeffrey Schwartz, in his brain lock book, he had this. So if you want this image, just type in Google brain lock, Jeffrey Schwartz, images. You'll see this. The normal control brain. This is what a brain looks like when somebody doesn't have OCD. This is what a brain looks like when it does. So you can see, so where this comes is kind of in the center of the brain, where the amygdala is malfunctioning, and it sends a message to the frontal cortex, which we know is the reasoning part of the brain, right? And so we all have intrusive thoughts. We all have thoughts that are like, whoa, where did that come, right? We have them. But when we don't have OCD, what I would say is that, I'm going to stop sharing here. So when we don't have OCD, I have a thought. I might have a thought that, hey, I have 4 children. I have 4 children. They're all grown up now, almost. But I remember I was wiping their diaper or cleaning their bottom. And I remember having the thought, what if I was a pedophile? It came in for a second. No anxiety, no distress, no nothing. And I'm like, and I move on, right? Like, what makes a pedophile, right? And I moved on. It didn't bother me. But somebody with OCD, they may have that exact same thought. But what happens is they get spiked using a scale 0 to 10, 10 being the highest level of distress, 0 not having any at all. They get triggered to a 12 out of 10. They get triggered to a 7, a 9. Well, if you have a thought and you got the same feeling as if somebody's running at you with a machete, well, wouldn't you think there's some value in that? I mean, you don't feel something for nothing. So there's got to be some truth. But what if there's no truth? What if all that happened is the brain filtered incorrectly, sent the wrong message to the frontal cortex? It felt really real. Well, so for me, I love my children so much. The last thing I'd ever want to do is hurt them. So if I had a 10 out of 10, 12 out of 10, the engine is burning, I would actually want to confirm in my mind, wait a second, wait, is this true? I would go like, did I bump her when I was wiping her bottom? Did I leave my hand there longer than I should have? Did I want to do this? And I would start guessing myself. Because again, if I'm an 8, a 9, a 10, and I'm thinking about these things, well, then I'm trying to create solution. I'm trying to create certainty. OCD hates uncertainty. So I create the certainty, but it's not working. So I keep thinking. And then finally, maybe I come to this conclusion that maybe that's not who I am. I wouldn't do that. This goes against my values. And I finally feel relief. But because it's a malfunction, my brain resets. And it can reset in a millisecond, minutes, hours. And ultimately, inevitably, it comes back. That's what happens. OCD, people think that there are these physical compulsions. In our facility, I would say 5 to 10% of what we do is that. There you can see a physical manifestation of OCD. The misconception is that. I today did an intake on somebody who said, just let you know, I've been to therapy all my life. I thought I've had OCD, but not one therapist says I have OCD, so I don't have OCD. I talked to her for like 5 minutes. I'm like, I knew for sure, like she didn't have OCD. She had severe, almost extreme OCD, right? And she started with, by the time I actually had a 29-minute call with her going through the whole process, and she's like sobbing because she felt like her life had been stolen away from her because everybody led her that this was not OCD. 90 to 95% of the people, they do mental compulsions. That kid that I first met with, he was doing a mental compulsion, is no different than somebody washing their hands. They feel like there's dirt, they feel it's gross, or they feel there's contamination, or they're going to get somebody sick, or somebody, however it be. And they're a 9 out of 10, like, oh my gosh, this almost toxic thing is on my hands, because again, a 9 out of 10 is a living hell, right? So there must be truth to this. So I got to get the dang stuff off my hands, and I'm going to keep washing until that feeling goes away, because that feeling is that testimony, confirmation is the word I'm thinking of, confirmation that it's off. Mental compulsions are the same. I'm trying to clean my mind. I'm cleaning my thought. See, OCD is like this parasite. It goes into the core of who somebody is and exploits what they value the very most. One thing that you need to know, as you work with people with OCD, you see people in your treatment centers, your hospitals, is that what they worry about is not their problem. It's irrelevant. So if you go down that road and you're exploring with them why they worry about the thing they worry about, irrelevant. Remember the screen I showed you? Their brain misfired. That's what happened. That's what happened. I mean, what I tell my clients is, well, I mean, if you want to know where it actually happened, I can tell you, but you're not going to like it. And they're like, well, tell me. I said, well, yeah, it all stems from Adam and Eve's children. It's all that inbreeding they did, messed up the perfect gene, right? That's why they have that dumb thought. I mean, truly, if you want an answer, but here's the thing is, even if I did know where that thought came from, still irrelevant. It's kind of like a type 1 diabetic. If you tell them exactly the pinpoint how they have type 1 diabetes, will it change it? Now with this grand information, will they no longer have to take insulin? It's wrong. OCD, I actually, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I hate the term mental health. Hate it. When somebody has a disorder, it's not mental health. Every one of these disorders, look at a CAT scan, an MRI, PET scan, look at them. You can see the malfunction happen. Depression, look at images. It's a malfunction. They have a physical health issue. When there is a like major depressive disorder, OCD, generalized anxiety, phobia, panic disorder, I mean, it's a malfunction. So if somebody who's type 1 diabetic was starting to feel really dizzy and nauseous, would you say, did you write in your journal about it? Maybe you just need to knock it off. It's all in your head. Let's do cognitive restructuring. How in the world would we think that that would help somebody with type 1 diabetes? When you work it the right way, what you'll see is that it's a physical health issue. Their brain lies to their body, says that something is happening that is not actually happening. And when we give them reassurance, we're making their problem worse. It's like a schizophrenic. You know, if I worked with I did work with a schizophrenic 20 years ago. This person had a 16-year-old girl following him around wherever he was going and spitting in his face and screaming at him, telling him to F off all the time. So mean to him. And that would be like me giving him an advice saying, you should tell her to knock it off, flip her off. Why would I engage in her or in his hallucination? Why would hey, I know you won't use that knife to stab your sister. I know you wouldn't. I know your personality. I've met who you are. You wouldn't be the person to do that. There's no difference. No difference whatsoever. Because what they worry about is not their problem. Their problem is that their brain lies to their body and says something is happening that is not. So going back to some misconceptions, OCD does not take a long time to take care of. Our facility, 9.3 weeks on average to get a 65% reduction in symptoms on average if they graduate through our program. 9.3 weeks. It doesn't take long. It's really fast because the treatment works. And again, I'm so excited in part 2 to talk to you guys about the treatment. A misconception. So on the IOCDF website, you can see that it takes anywhere between 14 to 17 years for somebody to find treatment with a provider that has the skill set to actually help them. So the misconception is that every therapist can help them. They can't. In fact, it's so funny, not funny, tragic actually, that we just had somebody give us a negative review who never even saw us, but they talked to their therapist about what we're doing, and their therapist says, don't ever do that. That is not good. That'll be more harmful. Like, oh, really? Based on your opinion, based on truth. Because the treatment for OCD is very certain of what you can do. So understanding OCD, I'm going to walk you through a little bit of what happens. I'm going to reel back a little bit. So in OCD, they get this intrusive thought. And in that thought, they get that awful feeling, fear, terror, worry. OCD is not an anxiety disorder, right? DSM separated them, and the good for them, because this is a fear disorder, a worry. It's very different than, I'm not worried about fear and scared, fight or flight. So they get this terror, this fear that rushes through them, right? And as they do it, they will seek for relief. And that relief, it could take them a long time to get there. In fact, what we find is that the more they try to seek for that certainty, seek for that relief, the deeper they get into it. Today, the person I talked to, they were Googling about symptoms they saw in their child, worrying that they might have some sicknesses. And they Googled until 4 a.m. By the time it was 4 a.m, they were having massive panic attacks. And I do believe that the panic attacks were coming because the engine was burning. I mean, how long can you stay at 12 before the body just does its thing to regulate you, right? And so they seek this thing. They want that answer. They get it. It's slippery. It doesn't last. I don't know if you guys have heard the term silent sufferers. People with OCD, they call them the silent sufferers. They put their little smiley face on. They act like everything is okay, but they're dying inside. Can any of you, I mean, for those who here who don't have OCD, with as many people are here, I guarantee you at least 2 of you do, and it's pretty darn bad. That statistically, if there's that many, right? And that doesn't count our generalized anxiety people here, and our social anxiety people here, and our panic people, and our phobia people. So, we got quite a handful here. Who are you? I'm not actually asking you to identify yourself, but would you know? People who suffer look like you and me, right? And they suffer. I have never had the same feeling as if somebody's running at me with a machete that has kept going for a whole hour in my whole life. I lost a daughter at birth. I still didn't have that feeling for an hour. I had moments, but not an hour. How about for a whole day? For a whole week? What if it lasted for a whole entire month? The same feeling as if somebody's running at you with a machete, and it does not stop. In fact, it only gets worse as certain things trigger it. How about for a year? The person I talked to today, 23 years. It has not gotten less than a 5 out of 10 for them. Not one time they can think of. They're going to go to treatment. I guarantee you by the time we're done in 9 weeks, she'll be like a 1 or a 2, because that's what it does. But here's the thing, is so sad, is that how do they even share this stuff with somebody? How do you say, I don't sleep on my bed, I sleep on the floor because I'm worried about the carbon dioxide that could kill us, so I make everybody in the whole house sleep on the floor? How do I tell people that? Oh, hey, I have the feeling that I'm going to take a knife and stab it through my dog's head. So I haven't even touched my dog in 2 years. How about my neighbor who refuses treatment, is not my client or anything, but she has not used her stove in 18 years. That house is 18 years old. She's not used it once because she's worried that her house will burn down. I can't imagine not even use it. I used my stove. We made cookies last night, right? Can't even use your oven, your stove. Terrible. How do you, my 2 doors down from me, another neighbor, he walks around with his hands like this because he gets the literal sensation that he's cupping women's breasts. And if he does this, then he knows he didn't do it. Holds them tight. Holds his hand so he knows he couldn't have done it. I've been with him. And he said, and there's a girl walking across the street, and he said, hey, did I just touch her chest? Right? And I could tell him, no, you didn't. I saw you. And he'll get relief because I'm a person of authority. I'm not him, and I might have had a different view, and I have no agenda, so I tell him the truth, and so it's going to give him relief. Until he's like, but are you sure? Right? Because it's not enough. You get the people who you got your contamination, but contamination is, society kind of takes it one way, like, oh, I'm worried about getting sick, but what if I'm worried about getting someone else sick? What if I am not being careful enough that leads to somebody dying? Did you know there's a whole gross factor in OCD? That there's some people that it has nothing to do about getting sick or getting someone else sick. It's just about, it's gross. But that gross comes with an 8 out of 10 of terror, fear, worry, right? They're gross. I've had clients that are terrified of anything that has touched a city, been in a city, right? When I tell you 95% of what we do is something so different, how about hit and run OCD? I had a client who took him 4 hours on average to drive what should take 5 minutes to go down the road, because he gets the literal sensation that he's running people over. So he has to go back and check. There's been times where he stays on the side of the road for an hour because he knows the police are coming, because he knows he did it. That he didn't, or they don't. I have had hands full of them where they don't even clean their car, because that way they know that if they did hit somebody, they would see the body mark from the dirt, the scuff mark, right? You ask your clients who have OCD and you say, how many times does the thing that you are so fearful actually happen? And they say never. Never. But how many times, I always follow up with the next question, but how many times does it feel like it has happened or will happen? And they'll say every time. Every time. They're the silent sufferers. Here's another term that you can use. They call this the doubter's disease. They doubt. They doubt everything. They doubt. And the reality is, if I had the same thoughts they had that was matched with as much intensity as they're feeling, I would as well. Right? And so, again, just other things. Sensory OCD. They think they stink. They think other people smell it. That's my son. My son has OCD, right? He thinks everybody can smell his feet. He's constantly washing his feet. My son is so funny. I've got people coming all over the world, comes to my treatment center. My own son won't do it. It's so tragic. So tragic. But I've got 2 other kids who did my program. So maybe that will change. But they call it the doubter's disease. So so sorry, I'm kind of lost my place. But so other types. So scrupulosity, right? So that first kid I ever met, scrupulosity. But you know, their scrupulosity could go either moral and or religious. I've had people who don't even believe in God worried that they're sinning, and it picks them off. Like, why am I angry? Or I mean, I'm feeling all these feelings. I don't even believe in this stuff. And it just shows you this is not a logical disorder. They will not talk themselves better. There's no amount of talking them will get them better, I promise you, because that would be like talking to a type 1 diabetic and you talked them out of being insulin dependent. It's not going to happen. And so, so, I mean, man, there are so many other forms of OCD. I mean, to perception OCD, how they see themselves, how people think they see them, to taste. Like, I've had people where they've only eaten 4 different foods because they're worried that they're not going to like it. Like, I mean, even if I didn't like something, I'm not going to have the same feeling as somebody ran me over or ran over or was going to run me over. Like, why would I need that big if I don't like something? We got a testimonial on our website of somebody who went through program. He's like, before I came to program, I'd only ever eaten 4 foods. And today I'm eating a Tony's burger, right? It's kind of cool stuff, right? But again, all these different types I'm telling you that are, and the ones I haven't even shared, it doesn't even matter. It's irrelevant. The only reason why we want to know anything about what they are fearful of is so we know how to do the treatments, tailor it to them, right? So a couple other things I think would be really important for you guys to know. So I've talked about OCD, made a big focus on OCD. Anxiety is just like OCD, except there's the worry and concerned and anxious component of it. But we don't use we use exposures. You'll learn this next week. We use exposures, but the treatment's very similar because their brains are also broken, right? Their brains are also misfiring. And in the end, I mean, truly, isn't life about experiences? Life, I don't know what my end is going to be. I have no idea. Did I hurt somebody's feelings? Did I frustrate them? Did I disappoint? I don't know. I mean, I try to be a good guy. I don't try to make people angry. I don't try to ruin their lives. But I bet there's people in my life that feel like I've done it. So somehow I have to focus all my energy on that misdeed or possible accident. No. And again, I can get so focused on what they're saying because they say it with such sincerity. They say it with such intensity. They seem unique, but they are not unique. Their problems are not unique to them. Their problems are typical of somebody who has those disorders, right? I'm worried about finances. Okay, yeah, who isn't? But why do I have to worry about finances at an 8 and it goes on for the last 7 months? Like that doesn't make sense. Something else is happening. Something that I think is a really really interesting thing is that people with anxiety and OCD, they tend to be some of the most amazing people on this planet. That's how I see them. Very special people. Because what they worry about is doing the right thing, being good. Like, I don't want to run people over. I don't want to have offended somebody. I don't want to, do something, to put somebody out. Such good people. And I think that is a misconception that the people who struggle with this are not. That they're lazy. They don't want to try, they don't want to do stuff that they know they should. But if you think about it, people with OCD and anxiety, it's like they're being punched in the gut non-stop. So when you ask them, hey, will you exercise every day? Because I think that's going to help you. And then they don't. If you had somebody punching you in the gut every day, what do you think the odds, and nonstop, by the way, what do you think the odds would be that you would exercise regularly? Talk to somebody today. They've eaten twice in the last 3 days. They have no appetite. Yeah, somebody punching me in the gut, as hard as they are with her, I wouldn't be eating either. And so, I mean, I could keep going on, but I see that a few questions have come in there. And so I'm going to answer a couple of those questions. One is, do people hoard things have a form of OCD? Maybe a fear of throwing things away that they might need, or they think of all the uses for a piece of cardboard, for example. Absolutely. Hoarding is definitely in the same spectrum of OCD. Except what's interesting is hoarding, if you read the research, they experience terror, fear, and anxiety worse than any other disorder. The intensity is higher. And so think about it for yourself. If you had something and you're about to throw it away, but you got that feeling of somebody's running at you with a machete and it says, you should not throw that away. You could use it. Why would you throw it away? Why would I want to risk the feeling I'll get if I did throw it away? and they start taking it. And if we've done a lot of hoarding as well. So people who hoard, they think they're going to use it, they want to use it. You ask them, have they ever completed a project? They don't complete it because completing it is not as anxiety reducing as is the not getting rid of it. So another one here says, I struggle with OCD, so cute that I couldn't work, do school, or even commit to take care of the family dog while my folks were on vacation. So here's the thing that I mentioned that, I know some of you have OCD. You have to, statistically, 2.3 out of you got to have it, right? If you do, guess what? There's a way out. This doesn't have to be your life. And what I love is, hey, I go get treatment, I beat the snot out of it, and then I can go inspire my clients even more so. So another question is combination of SSR, psychiatric treatment, CBT, and outpatient OCD therapist. I made it. Oh, awesome. Sorry, I can't read all the detail here. But I just talking about psychiatric treatment or medication. We are a firm believer in medication. Love it. It is evidence-based. It's proven by science to be effective. That's kind of like you type 1 diabetic. Do you believe in it? Did you know that insulin can change your personality? Would you not take it because it will? I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it. And so now understand, though, medication, research shows that 40 to 60% of people that take the medication will get a reduction. Of the people who get the reduction, you're looking at about a 20 to 40% reduction in symptoms. So I've never in the history of my career seen somebody have no symptoms after medication. I just haven't seen it. But what I say is it makes it a fair fight. If I can get a 20 to 40% reduction in symptoms, well, then I'm more likely to be able to do the therapy that's going to get me to the other side. So, well, I'm going to open up the floor for any questions that you guys have. I don't know if you want to unmute or all through the chat.
Hey, Paul, I have a question. This is Bielsa. Some of the symptoms that you described are very similar to psychosis. How can we determine which one is anxiety and which one is psychosis?
So psychosis, okay. OCD is the doubter's disease, right? So since somebody in psychosis, they're not doubting, they know. A pedophile, they know. They know that they want to touch a child. Did you know that 1 in 3 people with OCD have pedophile or homosexual OCD? They think, oh my gosh, I think I might be gay. I think I might be a pedophile. I'm just telling you, of any pedophile I met, they never question whether they actually are. They just don't want somebody to catch them. They don't want somebody to find out yet, right? So psychosis, it's the same thing as psychosis. You ask anybody with psychosis, they're not like, I think. They know. They know somebody's following them. They know that this is happening. OCD, no. They're like, I think I might have hurt somebody. I'm not sure. I feel I could have. I think I cheated on my test. I've literally had a handful of people kicked out of their universities because they keep going and telling their administration they think they might have cheated. And so the university's like, okay, you're out. There is uncertainty about it. Yeah, so we get people all the time that their therapists have thought that they're psychosis. There's not psychosis. We've got tons of people from uni thinking they're psychotic. They're absolutely not psychotic. They're just in this high severe to extreme range of OCD, which may seem like they're psychosis, but it's not. Like if somebody listens and can hear what they're saying, they're like, oh my gosh, I think I've murdered babies. Oh, really? When? I don't know, but I feel like I did. Somebody who's in psychosis, like, no, I was in this building and that might not even exist, and I was in there and we did this ritual abuse and there was these 3 babies and da-da-da. They can give all that detail. they wouldn't with OCD at all, because they don't know, because it didn't happen actually. I had a client who's gone into his bedroom, child's bedroom at night 500 times and asked the kid, "Hey, did I like bump into you when I walked into your room?" No. Oh, walks back in. "Hey, so like you were over here the whole time, right?" Because they don't know. So when somebody is responding to seeking reassurance, so if they have no skills and you haven't given them the skills, reassure them, because they don't know how to handle you not reassuring them, right? So like that's like, you know, telling a diabetic, here's some insulin. I know you don't have the pump or syringe, but like here you go, take it. Well, how do I do that? I don't have the things to make that work. So if you are doing the treatment and they're seeking reassurance, you tell them like 0 to 10, where are you at? That's what I tell my family. My daughter, when we're making, like last night, we're making chocolate chips. Again, OCD is chronic. She's going to have it to the day she dies. Instead of it being in control of her, she gets to be in control of it. But there's still these moments where she gets caught up in it because it just felt so real. I'm telling her to put some chocolate chips I said, put 2 cups of chocolate chips in the cookies. And she said, "So how many cups?" And I said, "Where are you at?" She said, "Everything's not exposure, Dad." And I said, "Where are you at?" 8. She's an 8 because she doesn't want to accidentally make the mistake that could ruin the cookies. And I said, "What do you need to do about it?" She put 4 cups of chocolate chips in it. And she looked at it. And then she's like, "Yep, everybody's probably going to be disappointed at me." Yep. And she did some other skills to really sit with it, which again, next week I'll talk about that. But we don't, if they have the skill, why would I want to give them crack? I don't want to be their drug dealer. I'm not going to give them information that's going to just perpetuate their problem. I care, like, where are you at? You're asking me, are you asking me for the right reason or the wrong reason? Because the right reason is there's 0 anxiety there. There's 0 fear, worry, concern, I mean. The right reason is like, I'm just curious. You're asking because you are trying to know. And here's the crazy thing is that these people, specifically with OCD, are the smartest people in the room. They're way smarter than me. So does my daughter really? My daughter is straight A's. She's just like her mama, her little almost photographic memory. Man, seriously. In my home, by the way, we have a plaque and it says, "In this home, we live average." Because my family's average is most people's best. When they try to be the best, they're miserable because their best does not exist on this earth. So skin picking, there's a whole series that we can do. So we run a BFRB program, body focused repetitive behavior program for it. Very awesome. There's a treatment that works awesome. I'll bring it up in the next week. But definitely very, very, very good. So I don't know and I won't go in it because there's a lot to say there. So I heard a great saying that perfection is the lowest standard because you can never achieve it. I like that. So any other questions?
Hey, Paul, I just want to make sure Brittany's question was answered. So she asked, what is the best way to respond when a person with OCD is seeking reassurance?
Oh, I think I did answer that one, which is I actually say 0 to 10, where are you at?
Okay.
Oh, you're an 8 right now. Okay. So interesting, you're an 8. So now I'm not going to try to logic that whole conversation with them, but really I'd say that because now I want to get them to realize why they're asking, because they get duped. They get duped because it feels so real. And so if we can get them to just know that they need to take action. And I can tell you that when they do the therapy and they take action over and over and over again, they get better and faster at knocking it off. So as to how do you see OCD in someone with autism and strong anxiety? Man, so we work with autism and OCD. I mean, no, I haven't read a recent statistic, but I bet it's at least a third or more of them have OCD. I mean, it's a lot. So we have success with autism a lot of the time. And again, you got to see where they are on the spectrum. And so, yeah, if they're a certain level of functioning, then we can get them to do it. The problem we run into is that a lot of times they don't think there's anything wrong with it. They just the problem they have is you not having a problem with it, right? But we'll use some skills to get them to see the impact as they suck other people into their compulsions, and try to get them. And we've been relatively successful. I would say of anybody in our facility, autism definitely puts a wrench in there, especially when that spectrum is not where anybody can really do much with them. So examples of mental compulsion, obsessive compulsions. So it could be anything. It could be that I just had a thought that I want to have sex with my daughter. I can have that thought. I mean, shoot, we watch movies, we watch TV, all this stuff inundates our brains. Like when a crappy thought comes in our head, it comes in our head. So I could have I could have sex with my daughter. That could be a thought. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, why would I have had that thought? That's terrible. And then I look at my clients, like they look at their daughter and they're like, but I think I felt something down there. I think it stimulated me to see them. I think I might actually be attracted to them. And now I'm going to try to pay attention. Now I'm not going to actually put my hands on my waist because I don't want anything that could possibly stimulate me, because maybe then that for sure would make me want to do that to my child. My wife, all of her are mental compulsions. Hey, I'm worried that I'm not saying this correctly, or hey, I think I said that thing the wrong way, and I'm now mentally reviewing how I said it, the grimaces that the people had on their face, and I've already mapped out exactly how they think and feel about that scenario. Mental compulsion. I mean, remember, it's the thing that they care the most that gets exploited. I have never seen somebody have an OCD symptom where it wasn't something it was the thing they valued the most. Never seen it. It's not like, because here's the thing. Why would I need to fill a 9 out of 10 of something that doesn't bother me, that I don't care about? What are the things I care? So what you'll see is my mental compulsions are moving from school because I'm in school, and now it's moving to marriage because I'm in marriage. Now it's moving to children because I have children. Now it's moving to more, with work. Oh shoot, did I work as long as I was supposed to? Am I giving them a fair share? Maybe I'm going to clock out because that way I can keep working, make up for the time I think I might have not worked, and then I'll clock back in. And so that then my company will get the right worth of my effort. It's exhausting. That's why they call them the silent sufferers. It's just nonstop. They spend more time existing through life than living it.
Great. So I just want to make sure that everyone saw in the chat, I dropped a link to the evaluation. If you are seeking CE credit for this course, this is, of course, part 1 of 2. We'll be back next week. I want to make sure everyone understands that. Next week, same time, same day of the week, we will be concluding. And if you want credit for this course, please click on that link. It'll take you to a form that you can fill out. It'll ask you for this code that I'm dropping in the chat. And if you run into any issues, I know a few of you, for example, at Intermountain have expressed frustration with the firewall settings. that's okay. You can email me. I will make sure that you get this evaluation, and that you have an opportunity to get a CE certificate if you wish to have that. I'm going to drop in the chat one more time the evaluation. I'll also give you my email. And I'm also going to drop a link to our YouTube channel because we will be uploading this course to YouTube. If you want to go back and maybe review some of the things that we discussed in this topic, please feel free to do so. Give me a few days to get that up on the internet. Maybe check back around the end of the week or so, and it should be up and ready to go. Did anyone have any additional questions for Paul? Anything else that you'd like us to discuss?
I just saw one pop in there that said, is it common for people with OCD not to really realize they have it? The person I talked to today didn't know it, and they've had it for 23 years. I would say a lot of them have no idea, because this is not what society has made it out to be. You know, oh, you've got you've got famous actors who have it, right? You know, and this is not what they're sharing. But what they're not telling you is they also have these also. I mean, they're terrible. And again, like I said, who's going to tell you, like, yeah, I literally I have my parents go out under the car to make sure that I didn't put a body under there, because I feel like that's where I think I might have put them when I killed them I think I might have killed them last night, right? And so a lot of them don't think they have it, and they've actually been told they don't have it, right? Because this is not OCD, this is anxiety. I mean, for 23 years, this person I just talked to today has had every single person in her life tell her she doesn't have it. So anyway.
So Lori's asking if you'll speak a little bit more about anxiety next week.
Yes. So I'm going to talk about treatment for both of them. To give OCD kind of a fair shake, I'll probably spend more time with that than the other. So, but I will definitely brush on it, because there's a lot of similarities, and there's some other components we add to it to enhance it that are unnecessary, that is used with ERP, exposure response prevention. Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate meeting with all of you. And I was actually going to say, I worked at Provo Canyon School back in 98 to 90 or 2000. So, you know, love Provo Canyon. So.
Great. Yeah. And for anyone maybe, wondering, hey, why are we seeing Aspen Grove all of a sudden? I just want to take, a few seconds to let everyone know we have rebranded our hospital. We haven't just given ourselves a new name. There's a lot of thought behind this. And those who might be wondering, the aspen tree is native to this part of Utah. And it has a unique root system, which we felt really kind of described what we're doing in our community, and reaching out and partnering with not only community members, but organizations as well. And so during the rebrand process, we went with something that I think kind of describes what we're doing, as a behavioral health hospital. So I hope that explains and clears up any confusion. If you saw an email and you're thinking, wait, what happened to Provo Canyon Behavioral? That we're the same hospital. We've just rebranded, and we're pretty proud of what we're becoming. So hopefully this will clear up some confusion. Did anyone else have any other questions for Paul before we let him go?
All right. Well, thank you, and have a great rest of your Tuesday.